and welcome to another episode of Amorex Connections. Today, we are going to talk with David Day of Viking Sprinkler. David, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for having me here, David. I appreciate it as well.
For our audience, could you tell us a little bit more about Viking and some of the things that you guys do?
Viking Fire Protection, we are a full service provider for the life safety systems industry. We do everything from fire sprinkler to alarms, special hazards. It's one of those industries where we really want to be encompassing everything within the life safety protection. We also do kitchen hoods. You really name it, we'll find a way to take care of you guys and our customers as well. We want to build that relationship, and it's a lot easier to go to a single vendor than it is trying to coordinate with multiple different ones. So that's what we're really trying to focus on is, being that service first industry and being to in turn able to take everything on that our customers needs, not just little itty bitty pieces that is kind of like an a la carte essentially. We want to be able to provide the full meal, for lack of better terms.
Kind of A to Z provider of sorts. That's excellent.
Exactly,
Uh,
exactly. That's what we're really striving for.
Tell me about yourself. How did you get into this industry?
It's kind of by happenstance, to say the least. I went to school with an emphasis in going into electrical systems engineering, a little bit different than working with water and piping, as you would say now. Kind of made my way out to the Los Angeles area, where I was the assistant director of engineering at the Four Seasons Los Angeles there in Beverly Hills. And that's really where I kind of started to dabble within the fire protection industry. We were working with regulation for fire testing in Los Angeles County as well as with the city. And specifically in the hotel industry, that's kind of one of those facets where people don't really want to dabble in. They're basically said, hey, that's life safety. We don't want to touch that, being the employees that work in there. So I kind of took it upon myself to learn a lot more about it so I could be comfortable. And then I moved over to Nashville. I helped open up the Kimpton Erickson Hotel there. And that was, I would say, where I really fully dove into the fire protection industry. So a lot of my background does come in from the hotel and facilities maintenance. I used to be a director of engineering and assistant director, as I said. So it's not just, fire protections when you're dealing with a whole entire building. It is life safety in itself. And that was one of the complaints that I had working is you're dealing with so many different vendors that take a little bit of this and they'll do that. It was really nice being able to work with Viking specifically on a full encompassing aspect of everything that I needed. And that relationship that they built was great. And it really kind of made me want to look into the fire protection because I care a lot about people. And one of the best things you can do is make sure that they're safe. So that was kind of dabbling in it, opening up a new hotel. You're not just, maintaining the systems. You're having to, in turn, do startup, learn, and with the in turn turnover rate in hotels, you have to have somebody that is very well versed in fire life safety systems because people are going in and out constantly. You could have one person that's there only for a year, and that can be detrimental to the life safety of the whole entire building and all of the occupants that are inside. So, long and the short, I got my start through the hotel industry, and then I really found out that I enjoyed it. And yeah, it's kind of been in the past since there.
Now, specific to your time with hotels, what are some of the unique challenges that the hospitality industry faces from a fire protection standpoint?
I'd say from a fire protection standpoint, I kind of touched a little bit on the turnover ratio. Something as simple as teaching somebody how to shoot off a fire extinguisher can be very, detrimental if somebody doesn't know how to do that. Now, granted, there's the aspect of are they feeling comfortable or not to do that. Ultimately, we want to keep ourselves safe, but being able to keep ourselves safe is also being able to provide that proper training. So I would say a lot of it has to deal with making sure that your employees are trained well. And in the hotels that I worked specifically, we were a full service hotel as well. Lots of luxury hotels have luxury chefs. I got the pleasure of working with a James Beard chef when I was in Nashville, and that's when I really learned about kitchen suppression systems. One of the things I would say, focusing in on the kitchen systems would be chefs move stuff constantly, but they don't understand the repercussions that can come from moving. Well, I don't want my griddle here. That's not, operationally sound for me. I want to move it over a little bit. Well, they don't realize there's a whole entire back calculation and, protection to make sure that they're safe in their kitchen by just moving that little piece of equipment. It could have adverse effects that could be, life altering, to say the least. So that would be one of the things that's just bringing the awareness of life safety. It's one of those things where it's never on the front of people's minds until it doesn't work, right? And that's something that I want to try to mitigate is not just in terms of providing a great quality product, but more so providing the knowledge base behind the why with it.
Right, right. Well, that certainly does make a lot of sense. I think largely, like you mentioned, restaurant personnel don't really understand how the system interacts with the arrangement of the equipment. I fully get that. Now, as the industry, as you look out at the industry as a whole, what are some of the unique challenges you see with fire protection going forward?
I think one of the unique things is everything's getting faster in our daily lives, whatever you want to call it, and that's not just limited to your cars or internet, whatever that be. It's consistently getting faster and trying to do more with little, right? So that means higher heat elements. It's something that I just think giving people and providing the knowledge base behind why you're doing it. I know a lot of the times when I was a director of engineering, I knew why we needed to do, fix a deficiency or we needed to spend a little bit of money on upgrading, a Halotron system. But I wasn't the person that was able to say, "Yep, we're going to go ahead and do that." I had to, even though being a director, I needed to go ask, somebody if that be at the corporate level. So, and a lot of the times those people unfortunately don't really understand the why behind it. So one of the things I really want to focus on is that training aspect of, just because we did this and, the job is done, we want to be able to provide that value added to kind of take it to that next step. Ask those questions. Hey, is there somebody else that you would like to train on this as well? Or even be able to sit in and listen to, how to, look at your alarm system, the reason why you don't want to move your kitchen equipment. If you do, hey, maybe we should look at a different alternative for you to help out in the future. If you do want to move that, like I had mentioned with, hotel chefs and having the turnover rate that are typically there.
Certainly makes lots of sense. Real quick, if you look at Viking and yourself as well, what are some of the key elements of success that you attribute to where you are now?
I would say one of the key elements for my personal success within Viking is just asking questions. I know that can be a cliche answer to say the least, but just question everything. If you don't understand it, don't act like you do. It's an industry that is ever growing, and the only way that we can, make sure that things are protected is by asking those questions. Hey, are you running into this? Just kind of what you asked within the hotel industry. Where are you seeing a need? And mine is simply training, because that's something that I myself has experienced and am able to speak on behalf of. Yeah, I think training is one of those things that can be absolutely detrimental to a building and the occupants inside. So question everything. Have an ability to think outside the box, because sometimes what is right in front of you isn't necessarily always what the problem can be. So it's easy to go in and say, "Hey, we're just going to go, change this one thing and then out," right? But it's better to describe the why behind your doing that, to set you up for future safety success. So that would be my advice would be to ask questions, because a lot of the time the people you're asking those questions, they're already a master of their trade. So it's just beneficial to yourself to apprentice under them, for lack of better terms. So.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. And one last question before we let you go, and that is for the future of Viking. What are the next things you see? The next big things coming up?
I can't speak on necessarily Viking as a whole. I can speak on my branch specifically. And one of the things that we're trying to do here within the Des Moines area is we are really trying to focus on that full service scope of work. Myself, I've taken upon to be not only a sprinkler systems designer, but also a kitchen hood, a paint booth, alarm systems. I do fire extinguishers. So that's really one of the things that I think that we can provide here is having that one point of contact. It's better to be able to call one person up and give them an issue that you're having, and they have knowledge base on it and be able to speak to it to make sure that you're taken care of versus having to call the next person for this and or somebody else for that. It's just that one way of communication and one point person is something that I specifically feel that is needed in this area. Just because it's the lowest price doesn't necessarily mean it's the best price, right? There's value added in that training. There's value added in just that personal connection, knowing that, hey, I had this problem. You call them at 1 o'clock in the morning, they're going to answer their phone for you because you've built that relationship. So I definitely think the relationship building is one of those things that can sometimes be overlooked. But it's one of the most important things because you in turn get that sense of responsibility more so and that sense of personal interaction with that individual. Hey, I want to make sure David Rice is taken care of because I've built that friendship with him. So that's one of the things that I definitely feel like there can be a need. It's not just a job for me. It's more of like a way of life, building that friendship along the way. So really trying to just get started. Kitchen protection systems are something that I've definitely taken a liking to. I think that primarily comes from working in the hospitality industry. And I know the hustle and bustle of what a restaurant can be and how detrimental it can be to make sure that your appliances are in the right spot. And again, looking not just at the now, but giving the proposition to the customer of, hey, where do you think you're going to be in the next 5, 10 years? Are you going to upgrade? Do you feel like you're going to have or need more cooking space? So just anticipation would be something that I think is very much so needed when you are talking with your customers.
Couldn't agree more. That consultation, I think, is largely missing in a lot of interactions. But you absolutely hit the nail on the head there. David, I do want to thank you so much for spending time with us today. It was really good talking with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I wish the best to you, and obviously safety here in the future. And really appreciate everything you've done, David.
Absolutely. And thank you, David. Look forward to seeing you before long, I'm sure. And thank you for joining us for this episode of Amorex Connections.